Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Weekly Review. My name is Mike Larkin, and by my side, as always, is the RWT dead man himself, the one, the only, Mr. Paul Morales. How are you, Paul?
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Michael Larkin. Hi, I'm actually doing very, very good. Enjoying my Friday. Of course, we're recording on a Friday, so in case anybody really wants to know, it's after SmackDown, which we will talk about later. And yeah, how you doing, Mr. Michael Larkin?
I'm good, bro. Like I said, what a week in wrestling. I figured some of the best way to start is there's a lot of stuff going down in the world of AEW All Elite Wrestling. There's been a pay-per-view being AEW Revolution, which we'll talk about staying in a minute with the memories and everything. Oh my goodness. And the latest signing of Kazuchika Okada and his role on AEW Dynamite. But first, we did have a firing. We've talked about firings on this show, from the Kevin Patricks, if you will, and everything from the bump and whatnot. A lot of people have been seeing their way out of companies, being fired or released, what have you. But this one kind of came as a surprise, if you will. Kevin Kelly has been fired from AEW, and let's talk about why he was fired from AEW, as it was written from the PW Torch. Kevin Kelly, who was part of the AEW Collision commentary team since the launch of the show last summer, has been fired by AEW, according to PW Torch sources. Kelly was removed from the AEW roster page earlier today. AEW take Collision tonight, and Fightful reported that the announced team for Collision was Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness, with Kelly nowhere to be seen during the taping. Kelly's post on social media last weekend cost him his job. According to PW Torch sources, Kelly gained a lot of attention when he went onto Twitter last weekend and accused Ring of Honor announcer Ian Riccaboni of sabotaging his career and of libel. When you go out of your way to intentionally mischaracterize by raising awareness of the global horrors of child trafficking to a fringe conspiracy theory that everyone knows is bullshit in order to hurt my career and standing in the industry, that at the very least is libelous, wrote Kelly on Twitter. Kelly posted about his dissatisfaction with how he was being used in AEW, but the idea of what I bring to the table is lost there because Ian labeled me, wrote Kelly. So I sit on the bench, valued by my peers, waiting to get my number called, keep asking why, but get pushed aside. It's okay, because there's no one better than me. Ask the ones that know, and they'll tell you. Kelly got off a rough start as host of Collision, coming across as not being familiar with the product, names his signature moves, and the history of wrestlers and ongoing feuds. He had a strong reputation from his calling in the English broadcast of some of New Japan's best events during a peak period for that company, which endeared him to much of the AEW fan base. But that goodwill went away quickly. Kelly finished last in our poll. Okay. So pretty much, yeah, I was like, get rid of that. So that was the end of the PW Torch deal. So let's talk about it, Paul. Kevin Kelly fired, blaming that doggone Ian Riccaboni from everything that happened there. He went at Ian Riccaboni for his posts. It's a sticky situation, man. So Kevin Kelly now gone from AEW.
It's weird. Like, I completely forgot that he was actually that he was actually in AEW. I literally, because I don't really watch Collision. Like, I think I've watched it maybe a few times, and that was probably before Kevin Kelly was actually there. And I knew he was in New Japan. Like, I knew that's knew him from WWE, knew that he went over to TNA for a little while, and then he ended up in New Japan, calling matches for them on their English broadcast, so on their English translation for them. But I mean, I had always thought that he was still there. I completely forgot that he had jumped to AEW and that he was on the Collision broadcast. So, but we'll actually talk about this particular thing that Ian Riccaboni actually posted. I don't know if this is along the lines of everything that happened in WWE. I really don't know. So I'm not really going to kind of put that out there as to that. All I know is that if it is, or if it has anything to do in particular with that, that's kind of hard for somebody to kind of put that out there. If they don't have all the news and everything, or they don't have all the something to back it up. In other words, they don't have the receipts to back it up on whether he was part of something like that. So, I mean, the fact that he went out there and he's actually just kind of throwing it out there, I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't want to say that Kevin's career's done. I mean, I'm pretty sure he'll end up somewhere, but just not with AEW.
It's a case of with everything that went out there, and I know Kevin Kelly, again, very much known for his WWF tenure. Stick it in your finger in your nose, Hermie, as The Rock used to call him. Hermie, stick it in there, Hermie. Kevin Kelly very much.
Aren't you the hermaphrodite?
So good, old school Rock.
Oh man, damn it, old school Rock.
Damn it. You look at Kevin Kelly, what he's done as far as like him and Shane McMahon, like they did Heat. He's done a lot from WWF, from announcing and interviewing. And then I got to know him as well, like you. He did some Ring of Honor stuff, New Japan, TNA. But it reminds me of just like, again, he put something out there and everything that happened with Ian Riccaboni, Bonnie. And again, it's a thing of everything like he felt underappreciated with AEW. I mean, when you listen to Kevin Kelly do commentary, and I'll say this, he comes off as someone who likes to tell the stories, likes to talk about where we are. He's very storyline driven. And yeah,
that was something he picked up in WWE.
Yeah. Like
so that's exactly how Vince wanted him to produce, kind of put everything out there, especially when he was doing Sunday night, when he would do a Sunday Night Heat occasionally, when he would do Velocity on the weekends, and they would do the recordings for Velocity, or even a Main Event when they did it too, like back in the day. And that was something, or Superstars, not Main Event. It was Superstars. So he cut his teeth in WWE. So you could kind of see along the lines the way he produces everything and the way he talks about everything. It's along those lines of like someone like JR, who used to be a storyteller, and come out there, and the same thing that they had with Michael Cole in the beginning. And I think the quote that I sent you of what Michael Cole has said about what the environment is now as far as in WWE, he was talking about how it's completely different, how they feel a little bit more freedom now. I mean, I that's kind of like where Kevin Kelly was at, and he was talking about it, how he's that's what he does. He's a storyteller, and I welcome it, and I'm glad and I love hearing it when he was in New Japan. So that's something that brought me into the product, listening to Kevin Kelly, especially explain, a lot of the wrestlers that I didn't know. So to me, I like I said, I think he's going to land somewhere. It may not be in WWE, but I think he'll land somewhere, eventually.
I mean, and we'll go to the Michael Cole quote here now because you brought it up. So Michael Cole talks about doing commentary under the new regime in WWE. Under the new regime now, things are looser. The direction's different. There's a lot more trust in commentators now than there was before. We are having the opportunity to be ourselves, open up, develop character, call pro wrestling sports entertainment the way we want to. Like, he nailed it spot on, because there's a major difference when Michael Cole was commentating with Taz and Jerry Lawler and all of these greats, and now he's with Pat McAfee and they're just letting loose. Like I said, that's the best way you can describe it. Just go out there, freestyle, free ball it, go. Let the creative
and then you look at what happened on Monday when Valhalla came out there and she put the antlers on top of him, and then they were having a good time. And that's what I think is the different environment now as far in WWE and as far as the announcers go. And I really, really think Kevin Kelly would actually feel a little bit more comfortable being in WWE. I'm not saying he's going to go back there, because I mean, they're already shuffled their announced teams around. And I love Fridays. I love Stu Bennett on there. I love Corey Graves. I love that group. And I love, Michael and Pat on Mondays. So, and then Booker and Vic on NXT. So, I mean, unless he wants to do like Main Event or something else, but I mean, he is good. So I know he's going to land somewhere, and if he's as comfortable being in New Japan, go back there, do that.
That's my thing. Once I heard about this, I'm like, okay, he can go back to New Japan and do what he does best with the New Japan brand. So I think where Kevin Kelly goes, he'll be fine. And I mean, speaking of someone who just is going to be fine in anything that he does, we'll go with this route here before I get to Mercedes Moné and Sting.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about me. I mean, I'm fine. Don't get me wrong, man. You know what I'm saying?
Fine as wine, man.
Fine as wine. Fine as wine.
Well, some women would say this man's fine as wine. Kazuchika Okada is All Elite. He made his debut on Dynamite this past Wednesday. They suspended Hangman Adam Page without pay from the Elite. They fired Kenny Omega. I don't know why. You're just, you're not around, just what are you doing? You're making all these excuses.
That was funny. You can't tell me that was not those were good lines. The fact that they did that and they actually pointed it out that he hasn't been there, you haven't gone to meetings or anything. They're, stabbing it. And I mean, I hope down the line when Kenny Omega eventually gets healed and everything, we're probably going to get Okada Omega 5, for them, but this is going to be a whole new world for the Elite, and AEW. I've stressed in the past, I've stressed this in the past, the fact that AEW's biggest issues are storylines.
Mm-hmm.
That's always going to be their biggest issues, is that, getting people invested in the storylines, because they've had start, stop. Wardlow.
Mm-hmm.
He won the ring, and then all of a sudden it was like,
well, he didn't want to do it because Punk was hurt and all that stuff, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna go for the TNT title. It's like, what? Like, what are you talking about, man?
Why?
Like, why? Just go for the title. Who cares?
Yeah. None of it made sense. I mean, that's why I said a lot of it just kind of like it didn't bring people in. It didn't invest people into the product, so it was hard for a lot of people to say, I'm invested in the wrestling. Now has nothing to do with the wrestling. The wrestling is great. There's a lot of great matches that are in AEW. That is nothing compared to how shitty the storylines are, especially with everything that happened with MJF, especially everything that happened with the Devil, and the fact that it was Adam Cole, and everybody kind of already guessed it was Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there were the little signs, the little symbols that that kind of popped out, and so I'll go back to MJF, and then everything with Wardlow, and then everything with the Jericho Appreciation Society, and there were a lot of fucked up versions of fucked up storylines where none of them made sense. None of them were just productive enough to get people invested, and that's where there's a love-hate relationship with AEW with a lot of people.
It reminds me of, like, I'll say this about Chris Jericho, because what he's doing now also kind of came out of the blue. Like, when I wrestled your father in ECW, he dropped me on my head, and well, I earned his respect, and you earned my respect after that match. And now, so Chris Jericho is going to team with Hook to go against the Mogul Embassy, like, again, out of nowhere. And please don't tell me, because I know how Tony Khan likes to swerve it, that we're going to get Jericho turning on Hook, and we're going to get Hook and Chris Jericho for the FTW title. And they're going to have some involvement, because Taz and Chris Jericho 1995 ECW tie-in. I could definitely see them going that direction.
I could see them going that direction, but okay. So we talked about last week, and we talked about the CMLL guys, and all of a sudden them throwing matches together with Jericho mentioning, oh, well, I fought his father back in, X, Y, and Z. And it's like, okay, next week or next is going to be him versus this guy. And all of a sudden it's like, but why?
Yeah, well, no point taken. As we're recording this, folks, like tomorrow on Collision, Chris Jericho's fighting Titan, or as they call him in CML, Teton, and for like a match, and it's a CML guy. I'm like, I've never heard of this guy in my life. Like, why are we having Chris Jericho?
Yeah, why are we having this match? It doesn't make any sense. Like, if back again, if he fought somebody in CMLL, and I know WCW had different ties with different Mexican companies. I mean, hence why they had the LWO, hence why they had La Parca and Psychosis, and all those guys that were there, Super Crazy, they had these guys that were there that were just basically showmen. They were out there just to put on a show for everybody. But okay, no, I'm sorry, I got off track. But it's like, that's what they're doing. That's what AEW is doing. They're bringing in the guys from CMLL the same way WCW used to bring in the guys from AAA to come in and, put on a show, showcase their stuff. But there's no storylines. It's just like, toss together match, which
Right.
I have no problem with. I have no problem, but I don't need to know that there's a story. Hey, if you're gonna have like an invasion of CMLL into AEW, okay, cool. Hey, great. But make it have some substance. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. It reminds me of how with AEW Revolution and the 8-man scramble, like they just threw Magnus in there from CMLL, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, he qualified. Who the hell is he? Like, okay, sure. But and also, I mean, to add to the Okada point, like for me, I was 50-50 on it because mind you, now we're gonna have Kenny Omega, Okada 5, and this time Okada's the heel and Kenny Omega is the baby face, which I think is a nice little touch to it, right?
I think that's the twist that we've never had.
Mhm.
It's always been Kenny Bullet Club
Mhm.
versus Okada, and it's always been, they've had a straight up match or they've had a little bit of interference from Bullet Club.
Right.
But it's always been, great matches. Nothing taken away from any of their 5-star matches. Any of the previous 4 that have been outrageous and thrown together and pretty much them banging the shit out of each other, no pun intended. But I mean, the fact that they go out there, they put on what they put on for the crowd and put it on for the fans, and it's great at entertainment, at entertaining us.
Right.
But this is going to be the switch where now Okada's going to be Omega's going to be the face and Okada's going to be the heel with the Elite.
What I like about it too is as well as like his first opponent, it makes sense for him to feud with Eddie Kingston for the Continental Crown due to the fact that Eddie Kingston has such a love for the Japanese side of things, right? He has such a love for strong style Japanese wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I think it's going to be interesting to see where they go with that. Do you see him beating Eddie Kingston for the Continental Crown Championship? I could see it, like right out the jump.
Could see it. I could see of anybody. I think it would be him. That would legitly, and I think I think they're going to put on a tournament for the tag titles, and I could see the Bucks winning it, and then the Elite holding titles, and them being quote unquote, the stable and the championship the championship stable inside of AEW. So I can see it. And given that title, given that it's a Triple Crown title, given that it's the Continental title, and I could also see him going after the international title with Orange Cassidy. So
well, I like that you brought that up because now Chaos, if he's in the Elite, what happens with Chaos? Because Orange Cassidy is a member of Chaos, so I like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just saying. I mean, it would be an interesting twist. But I mean, I could see it happening. I mean, I'm not ruling it out. I mean, but I could see the Triple Crown title and the New Japan Strong coming to Okada. I could see it
again too, and I like. Did you also see the fact that he's paying Okada like $4.5 million like to come in?
Yeah.
Like he put a lot of money into Okada, man. Holy hell!
I'm not saying that, and I think he's well deserved of it. And I mean, granted, he's up there in age, but still, he still had that. He's still in his prime. It's not like he's like old over the hill. He's not The Rock.
Yeah, Okada's 36.
Yeah, and it's not like he's The Rock. I mean, he's in his prime. I mean, he's in the middle of. He's at the beginning of his prime. Look at the matches that he had with Omega before. Omega's in his 40s, just slightly into his 40s. So we're gonna get this again. We're gonna get him and Omega again for their fifth time, and then I could see him being a representative for New Japan Strong here in the States. So, kudos to him.
Agreed, and kudos to somebody else. I would like to say, as we saw in the main event of Dynamite this week, Will Ospreay beat Kyle Fletcher. Oh my goodness! Like that led. Great. Ooh. Yes, great match. But what everybody's talking about is what happened after that because Bryan Danielson came out. We had the stare down to end the show. AEW Dynasty, Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay. I'm here for it.
Sign me up. I you know what? If I'm going to watch one match, that's going to be the one. Because I've seen Zack Sabre Jr., Daniel Bryan. That was 5-star for me. At least to me, that was 5-star. Um, I mean, we've seen Osprey and Zack Saber Jr. before, so they kick ass anytime they've been in the ring together. So I can just imagine what it's going to be like. I hope we get a healthy Daniel Bryan. Um, although I'm going to kind of go off a little bit because I I get the respect factor from between him and Eddie Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I like the match, but it wasn't as top level. And they had a good match. I mean, the match at Revolution was good. I just thought it could have been next level had it gone all the way time limit and not Eddie beating Bryan Danielson. I would have liked to see a limit draw, and then it elevates Eddie. It elevates Eddie to at least say, I'm up here with these guys that are just up here too. I mean, and we already know how elite, Bryan is. So I would have liked to have had seen that one go to a 20-minute draw rather than him going over. And that's just me personally.
No, I like the match too. I mean, but I think they had to have a little bit more oomph as far as like another level, like you mentioned. But I think with Eddie Kingston, what they're doing now, they're showing him to be in that top level. They're showing him to be in that proving ground, so to speak. And what I really like about what they're doing in Kingston is not only can we just show the fact that, King of the Bums, that grit, that gutter, that raw passion, if you will. And now here he is doing his thing with the Continental Crown and all the championships. I'm really looking forward to seeing where we go with, like, again, Dynasty is coming at the end of April. Bryan Danielson, Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada, and Eddie Kingston. I'm here for it. And I mean, speaking of something else that we're here for, Monday, big business is next week, and oh my goodness, the AEW fan base, while they were happy at first, now they seem to be a little doggone pissed off because there's two excerpts I want to read from this interview that she just did, but let's start with the one that got everybody all pissed off, if you will, on the AEW side of things. Let's talk about it here, man, because Sasha Banks was on the Kick Rocks podcast, right? And she noted that she believes that she'll return to WWE one day, noting, and here's the excerpt from it, I know I'm going to be back there one day, okay? So it's not over. Like I said, I have a lot of unfinished business in wrestling in a lot of places. Whew. So she also said that, just she's expected to debut for AEW Big Business. And yeah, that line, a lot of people got pissed off. I want to get your thoughts first and foremost. What were your thoughts on that line from that podcast? And then we'll go into the other story.
I completely get that she wants to cause sort of a controversy, but also allow people to understand that where she was born at, and the only reason why she left on bad terms was because of Vince. That's it. This had nothing to do with Triple H. This had nothing to do with Paul. This had nothing to do with Stephanie. It just happened to be with creative, the direction that she felt that they were going in, and it was Vince. That was it. I'm certain Paul reached out to her. I'm certain he said, I want you to come back. I want you and Naomi to come back. And I want you both to come over here and kick ass. And she said, and I'm pretty sure she probably said, I'll think about it. Give me some time. Let me think about it. She probably called him back, told him, I'm going to go this route. And she's not wrong for saying it. I understand diehard AEW fans are just angry because she said it, but that's her home. No matter which way you want to look at it, that's where she got her start from. So if she eventually does want to go back to WWE and feels that there's another level of women that are there that she could still cut her teeth with, why not? Bianca, yeah, she had the WrestleMania match with her. Yeah, but there's Tiffany Stratton, there's still Laya Valkyria, there's still Roxanne Perez. There's still a lot of amazing women in NXT that she could still cut good matches with.
My thing is too, like, my first introduction with Sasha was, like, obviously she was main roster from 2015 to 2022. 2013, I remember seeing her on NXT, and then she became a heel. Like, she was just a cookie cutter babyface, and she became a heel with Summer Rae and Charlotte Flair. They had a little thing, and then that's really where she developed the boss character. But God dang it, man, like, that's her roots. That's where we all know her from. And I mean, obviously, she wrestled Kairi for New Japan, and for AEW, I can definitely see her going for the title against Toni Storm. I'm fine with whatever she does. I think she's one of the ones that's really become such a generational talent that a lot of women aspire to be, and they'll get a lot of influence from, if you will. So, I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, how can you not say what she's going to say? The WWE is her home. That's where she grew. But now here she is doing other ventures and endeavors and aspirations, if you will. So, I mean, that's where a lot of people took from that and just like, oh, great. Like, she's going to be debuting next week, and here she's making this. But people, it's her home. It's where she came from. You got to respect the roots. And speaking of something,
she's not gonna bash them. I mean, like I said, she's not gonna bash any of the people that she's there. I mean, she's grown to love them. I mean, she's gonna get a hate. I mean, she's already got a few women that are already in AEW that already have issues with her because apparently because of her attitude, and they've met her in person and they've already had issues with her. So, and I think Red Velvet was one, and I think I can't remember who else it was. I know they were on a live stream and they were talking about it, and they were talking about their few little interactions with her and how her attitude was. So she may have already rubbed a few people the wrong way, but she's just going there to wrestle women that she hasn't wrestled. So
I mean, fresh matchups and everything that goes into and fresh storylines. I mean, that's just gets the creative juices flowing. And I mean, with an athlete like Mercedes, aka Sasha Banks, I'm here for it. And I mean, another excerpt that we're going to read here from that interview, Paul, is here we go. We're going to do another one. Mercedes Moné explains why she left WWE. And we got a little excerpt from that podcast as well. And she says, and I quote, "Something told me I needed to do this and stand up for myself. It was a very hard decision because wrestling in WWE has been my whole life, hardest decision I've ever had to make in my whole life, but it's the most proudest. It's crazy because I would not be sitting here living the best version of my life and getting to be everything I've ever dreamed of and more. That moment changed my whole life for the better. I'm so thankful for that moment. So proud of myself. So proud of Trinity. So proud of how strong we were. I just know that everybody acted like they were in that room or worked there or were backstage or knew what happened or knew what was said. But all I know is that I handled it like a CEO, like the boss that I am, with my head held up high. And I can't say nothing but amazing things to WWE. So thankful for the career they gave me, the fans they gave me, the life they gave me, the dreams they gave me." So, yeah, Mercedes is in a good place with WWE. And I got to say, if you've not checked out that podcast, it is a good one, man. It's a real good one.
She said it.
She did it. She said it plain as day.
Said what I just said, she just said. So, and I didn't even read it. See, that goes, see, I'm just good. See, I said, I'm out of here.
Oh man, but no, that's amazing just to see. And I what I love about it too is as well, you need this in professional wrestling. Focus on who we have. Like, we have so many assets and so many people that are here to make professional wrestling the great craft that it is. One of them is Bianca Belair. And dude, I got pissed off. The people who were commenting on her and just said a lot of very mean, nasty, and even sometimes racist things about the WWE video game cover and her. Like, what the hell's wrong with people? You saw a lot of the talent sticking up for Bianca, rightfully so, but damn it, people, be better.
Same thing last week. We got people who are booing at a live event, booing a young talent that, at a live event. And then we get people that are just can't keep their fucking mouth shut. I mean, I get it. Everybody has an opinion, but sometimes there are things that you just shouldn't say. And I mean, there's no point in it. I mean, she's a beautiful woman that's, out there busting her ass, and she's a champion.
Uh-huh.
She's a former champion. She's a 2-time former champion, three-time former champion. So it's not like she's just some up and comer. She's a really genuine, down to earth, great woman. I mean, and loving WWE. Go watch it because you know what? It's cool to see her as in her just being her. You know, that's not a lot of filter. You know,
No.
I mean, I know some of it probably is, but genuinely, you look at Bianca and she's just this awesome individual that just is just loving. And so, you know, her and Montez are awesome. So the fact that these people are going after her for bullshit reasons is literal bullshit.
Exactly. And also for Love and WWE, you get to watch.
You better, motherfuckers.
You also have
Don't mind me.
on Love and WWE, Montez Ford and Bianca Belair whipping that hair out, man. That's all I'll say. You got to watch the episode. It's made the rounds of him just, bacha! Oh my God. It's hilarious. You got to watch it, just taking that wig off.
No. Damn. I love that one. My daughter's been watching it too, so.
Oh God, like I said, it's funny, man. It's so good from a reality TV side of things. Another thing I do have to add as well. We didn't talk about it last week, but it now has popped into my head before we get into the other topics in today's forum. But yo, Dave Meltzer, you dumb shit. Friggin' reporting that The Rock is going to wrestle Triple H, but I don't think it would do well because of the health issues. And it's a freaking video and a photo from The Rock and Triple H from their backstage segment in 2014, which you could tell because of the video game graphic in the background, or even just look at the date of the video. And Dave reported it like it was going to happen this year from a video from 10 years ago. And his apology was, oh, well, you know, I made a mistake, but people should just give me more credit because I've been working so hard on the Ashton Massaro story and burr. And it's like, Dave, you had a flub. You messed up. Just admit you messed up. Like, it just, Meltzer really irked me last week with that whole crap.
Yeah, well, listening to Meltzer and Brian Alvarez has lately been giving me a headache because, no offense, Brian Alvarez is like scratching nails against a chalkboard. Mm-hmm. You know, that's how hard it is. And I had to unsubscribe to them and stop listening to them because as much as I get, you know, their aspect, and I get they've been doing this for years. They've been doing it before podcasting actually became a thing. So, and, you know, they've been in the wrestling business, but there's sense, and there's common sense. Sometimes they just miss the boat.
Right. And I mean, Brian Alvarez was trained by Buddy Wayne, who is the father of Nick Wayne. And I mean, he wrestles sometimes, but I mean, he's most notably known for being Dave Meltzer's boy. And Meltzer is just, look, Billy Corgan said it best on the Kurt Angle podcast. Like, he may be a historian, but his takes on wrestling, nah. like nah. But and the thing with Dave is too, like, every time I see him, dude, I want him to clean his office. That he's a 60-year-old man, needs to clean his office. He's got papers all over the place. You've seen it on Dark Side of the Ring. The man needs to clean up his office, Paul.
Dave, marry maids. Simple. Get topless maids. You know what? They can entertain you. Hopefully they'll poke you in your eye with a nipple or something.
Yeah, man. They'll give you 5 stars. Yeah. Oh, Dave. But yeah, no, that was something I forgot last week, but I want to touch upon this week. And another thing we are going to touch upon now, and you brought this up, we're going to go to our dear friend, Mr. Mick Foley, for this one, because Mick Foley, this crazy, crazy son of a gun, he wants another match. All right, here we go. We're just going to play the clip.
My guts and my heart.
So Mick, what made you originally start thinking about doing another death match?
One day when I was really struggling, I realized that what used to be the best motivation for me was another match. So I always got in shape with the goal of having another match. Now, fast forward, my wrestling days are over. I spent with 2 small occasions all of that time since 1999, well over 300 pounds. And I got down on 3 different occasions below 300. And then as I saw my weight really starting to get away from me, I just thought, maybe I need that same kind of motivation. And along the way, I can appreciate the lifestyle changes, the eating differences, the exercise. There's no reason for somebody at my age and weight to not be exercising for 3 straight years. You know, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you're asked in the airport if you need a wheelchair. It's it's embarrassing to be the guy who's bigger than the chair on the airline. I think it's something of a paradox that by competing in a death match, I will have a much better life. Like that day is going to be tough, right? It's going to be tough. But the lessons I learn leading up to that match are lessons I intend to carry forward for the rest of my life. To me, it's the difference between being a grandfather someday who can crawl on the ground and play with their grandchildren and a grandfather who sits and watches from the sidelines. And I don't want to be that guy sitting on the sidelines. So I know having a wild match involving barbed wire and thumbtacks, we're going to bring in a bed of nails. But these are going to be tools of life for Dad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You bet.
What are you looking forward to the most with the match?
Catharsis. I'm just looking for catharsis. That, as odd as it sounds, in Japan, the fans are described as being like oddly peaceful when they would leave because they had seen something. And when it's done right, it can be a work of abstract art. Some people will just see human beings putting each other into terribly inhumane situations, whereas others will see two human beings working together to create surreal art. And so I'm hoping when it's done, there'll be a sense of peace among the fans and a sense of inner peace for myself, even as my wounds just stick to the sheets that night and for a few nights. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to come out of that situation in worse shape than I was. But I believe I will pick up habits that are going to lead to a longer, better life. And that's something I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to feel about it.
Here, I'll start first.
Okay.
So, what got to me, because when I sent the interview to you, what got to me was him talking about playing with his grandkids. I just recently became a grandfather last year. And him talking about rolling around, his weight fluctuating and being what it was. Dude, I was 500 pounds. I was 500 plus pounds. I had surgery. Yes, I did. I'll admit it. I had surgery. And a lot of what he was talking about kind of resonated with me because it was something that I felt. And, I can get his reasons for wanting to go back to the ring and wanting one last match because maybe he really wasn't satisfied with his final match at period. And I believe his final match was in TNA. If I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on that.
Okay, so
I believe his final match.
I'm thinking
lengthy match was in TNA.
Yeah, like from 2009, like he had the matches with Kurt and Sting, and then 2010, I think there was a match with Jarrett and Flair, and then
that's the one I was thinking of. That's why I said that I believe his last match was in TNA. So we're talking 14 years ago.
Yeah,
and I I commend Mick for wanting to do this. I mean, he's crazy. I mean, I love him, but Mick, you're fucking crazy. Matt Cardona, love him to death. I love Matt to death, and give him credit because he even told Mick, "I want your last match. I want you to do it with the Death King, the Death Match King." I don't know if it's going to happen, but it would be funny if it would be pretty interesting if he decided to do it with Matt Cardona, because that would be. I know Matt would take care of him, but I know that they would have an excellent fucking match.
I look at it like this. I'm glad you brought him up because Matt Cardona has done the fuck McFoley deal in GCW and on the indies. Like for me,
yeah, he has.
Like Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona was Tommy Dreamer's last match when he wrestled in WWE on the ECW brand.
Yeah.
So for it to be full circle to be another legend like Mick, and like you mentioned, Cardona is a very safe worker. Like he has not hurt anybody. He's good at taking care of people. And for me, that's a plus because it's too long.
And I have to admit, there's one thing about Matt that I have to say is probably top notch, is that we talk about him taking care of people, is that he will take more bumps for people to help them out. And that's what I love about Matt, as far as like that personal professional standpoint. And he's by far upped his value, upped his wrestling value. I mean, as to the reason why he probably hasn't come back to WWE, and I'm pretty sure Paul has reached out to him. But with his wife there, I'm pretty sure that they can do whatever the hell they want. And I would love to see Matt come back, but Matt's killing it on the indie scene. He is the indie god.
That's my thing with him too. Like I've watched that dude again, Long Islander. Like the first time I ever saw him was the New York Wrestling Connection, NYWC, Long Island, New York.
Yeah.
One of his first gimmicks was he came out with Brian Myers, aka Kurt Hawkins, and they came out to the Backstreet Boys. It's Gotta Be You off the Millennium album.
Yeah.
They were managed by Prince Charles. Like that's like his early beginnings. And then of course the Major Brothers, Hawkins and Ryder, and then the Long Island IC. Like that dude made the most of his time with everything. And now here he is, like a whole different person, adaptation and growth. And I mean, him and Mick Foley would be sweet. I'm going to say this right now. I don't want to see Mick Foley and Nick Gage. And I like, no.
Oh, please, no. Please,
no.
God.
No.
Because Nick won't take care of him. Nick won't take care of Mick. I'm sorry. I like Nick Cage. Believe me, I like him. But he will not take care of Mick. And I know Mick wants to take bumps. I really, really know that Mick wants to take them. But if it's going to be anybody, I would love it to be Matt.
I'm right there with you because there was a lot of people suggesting online, and I'm going to say this, and I love our boy DC. Daniel Crimmins, when he said that on our show for Uncaged, I'm like, Dan, you out your goddamn mind. Because I'm like you. I know Dan is a big Nick Gage fan, and a lot of people are.
Yeah.
But, like, you have to be real with yourself. Like, this dude is reckless. He's fucking reckless. He would not take care of Mick. Mick Gage is fucking nuts. Mick, in a way, is his own nuts. Like, he wants to take more high octane bumps and just bump and feed. And he wants to do, like, this flip over the steps or just falling onto the concrete. He wants to do 1996 Mankind Mick Foley all over again is what he wants to do. But I agree with you, like, him losing the weight and in the fluctuation, like, the fact that he wants different catharsis and just, I get it. I think he's nuts, but I get it.
But you have to look at it from the standpoint is like, dude, I've lost weight.
Yeah.
I've lost over 175 pounds, and my knees don't hurt as bad. My back doesn't hurt as bad, but I know when I do physical activity, I feel it. So I know that Mick, as much as I love Mick, and I know he's had knee problems. I know he's had back problems because he's already, if you watch the show that he had with it, the Foley. Yeah. When you watch the show, he's talked about his rotator cuff. He's talked about his elbow. He's talked about his neck. We've seen him. Go watch him with Bo Hightower when he gets adjusted, and you see he tells him every surgery he's had. And he talks about, all the things that he's been through, that he's put his body through. And Bo actually touches on it, on telling him, I've seen you in this match. I've seen you in this match. So it's not nothing that we don't already know. So if I'm thinking, if he has this match, I don't want it with Nick Cage. And sorry, DC, I love you, my boy.
I love him too.
But I do not want it with Nick Cage. I would much rather feel safer if it was Matt Cardona, because at least Matt, I know Mick will want to go out there and want to kick ass, but I know Matt will protect him. So
I'm right there.
Sorry, DC.
I'm sorry, Dan, and I love Dan, but this is what you get sometimes with Dan with his theories, and I love him.
Now I've seen Nick do the safe stuff.
Yeah.
when he was in AEW, when he did a couple of matches in AEW.
Yeah.
I saw him do safe stuff, but in my feeling, if Mick really, really wants to do a death match, do it with Matt. I mean, at least Matt, I believe it elevates them both. And I know this is kind of stupid to say, but it also elevates Mick into a different category because he left 14 years, comes back, does this huge ass match wherever he does it at. If he's going to do it in Japan, I mean, it's a huge match.
I mean, technically speaking, like we almost, and I think
it's nothing like Ric Flair, by the way.
No,
it's nothing like Ric Flair.
It's not Ric Flair territory at all.
It's not Ric Flair. Okay, now I mentioned that. Sorry, my bad.
Perfect. And before we even get to Ric Flair, because that son of a bitch took a bump.
Woo!
I have to say this. We'll end it with that. We'll get to Sting at the end of the show, but I got to say this. Mick Foley, it's so interesting to me that we talk about 14 years and really he wants to have another match, a death match. But can you believe, like, if you look at it in 2012 and he had that confrontation with Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose at the Hall of Fame, we were this close to getting Mick Foley and Dean Ambrose in a match. Like, if Mick and concussions and protocol and everything, but we were that close. And could you imagine what we would have gotten with Mick Foley and Dean Ambrose at that time?
Yeah, it would have been interesting, to get that. I know Mox would have taken care of him, but still at the same time, I think in the long run, I think Mick, when he does eventually have this match, I think it's going to be great for him because we already think he's a legend. We already know he's a legend. He's an icon in that particular. He's an icon in death matches. We've seen it over the years. We've seen how hardcore Mick Foley, Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, bang bang,
bang bang.
We've seen how great this man is in those matches. Undertaker, namesake, Deadman. We've seen those matches. Him with Randy Orton, WrestleMania. He's gonna go over the top, and at some point, it's gonna be one of those matches to where we're gonna end up talking about, God willing, nothing happens to this man. I love him. I love Mick, man. I wish you all the best. I hope whenever it happens, Mick, you have my blessing.
Same here. I love him too, but again, Mick, take care of ourselves. And Matt Cardona, let's fucking go. I'm here for it. We're manifesting. We're putting it to the universe. Matt Cardona, Mick Foley death match. Book it. I want to see it. I mean, hell, if Matt Cardona can help rejuvenate a Maven feud, like, and have him go out there and wrestle Maven, and you see what Maven's doing out with his YouTube. Hey, why the hell not, right?
Why not? Why not?
And before we get to, we're going to talk some NXT and we're going to talk some SmackDown. And before we get to Sting for the closer, I have to bring this up because we mentioned the year 2012. And you, Paul Morales, as we discussed before each and every show, you put out another great one for us to check out. It is John Cena and the fact that he planned on turning heel and created everything. Let's take a look at this video here.
Oh.
A legend, we never kill him, coming in the air. This moment happens once in a lifetime.
Like, listen to that right there.
A legend, we never kill him, coming in the air. This moment happens once in a lifetime. My heart pumping, adrenaline pipeline, right mind, right brain, bright light, right game, our time, walk tall, never slip, never fall, win it all, never dare, stand proud, never sit, here it is, do or die, one chance, let it ride, fourth quarter, bottom nine, go water, time to shine, time is mine, believe it, baby, chances here, they need it, baby, I got enough bravado, don't need no lucky lotto, I eat your face like Tyson when he had the motto. This is my chance to shine in front of millions and see it back in the building. Down loyalty, respect, a legend. We never kill him coming in the hustle. Loyalty, respect, a legend. They never kill it. Coming in the hustle. Loyalty, respect, a legend. They never kill it.
Okay,
You can't tell me that beat ain't sick. You can't tell me those lines aren't sick.
I had to replay it just because I'm like, it's so good. Like, it's so good. Like, imagine if we had
Man,
gotten that after Cena.
I wish. I would love it if he just came out as a heel, just one. I mean, we got the doctor, we got the doctor of Thugonomics. Don't get me wrong. He had some heel vibes in there, but God, if that were his theme, man, people would still cheer his ass. They wouldn't care if he was a heel because he would still be John fucking Cena. And people would still be like this and still have hustle, loyalty, and respect to his name. Can't tell me that shit was not fire.
So he just did an interview with Chris Van Vliet saying after Cena Rock in 2012, he was going to turn heel. He recorded that song that we just played that was a banger. And imagine if we had gotten heel Cena in 2012 and just being the opposite of what he was with the hustle, loyalty, and respect. Like, it's such a missed opportunity. Like you mentioned, the Doctor of Thugonomics, when it first started in late 0203, I enjoyed it. It was funny. It was entertaining. But it wouldn't be like that. Like how now he could just be intensified and be a badass heel. We got it, but not to that certain level of what we could have gotten in 2012. I think that would have been the right time to pull the trigger.
Oh my God. I want everybody to go and watch that interview with Chris Van Vliet. I mean, it was fire. The fact that he mentioned this and then, oh man, I would have paid to go wherever to go see him like that. I would have liked to that. Okay, so we go back to that first Rock Cena match.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of it, he's sitting in the ring and he's contemplating what he's going to do. I'm sorry, fuck Vince for not pulling the fucking trigger on this. And I get it. I completely get it. He's such a wholesome character, but everybody at one point in time still needs that one little push. He could have went heel for a whole year and then still came back, but people would have eaten this up. You listen to that rhyme. You listen to that rhyme cadence. Oh my God, you can't tell me John Cena can't rhyme. That dude just flowed the hell out of that theme. Oh my God, I need that on my Spotify. I need that damn thing. I don't care if it was unreleased. I don't care if it was one of those, flyby thing. I need that on my Spotify list, man. I just want to bump it and just work out to it. I don't care. Just listen to John Cena.
Me too.
The heel John Cena. Come on, man. That's just why.
The hustle, the loyalty, respect. I'm running we've known he could rap for
banging though. That shit's banging though.
He's been rapping for over 20 plus years. Like I had the You Can't See Me album when that first came out. Like if you want to hear an underrated album, the John Cena trademark You Can't See Me album is fire from top first song to last. It's a great album, and I mean he did some contributions with the 2K games with Wiz Khalifa. Like the dude can rap. Like he is so good at such a great flow with what he does, and I mean, damn it! Now I really want not only that song, but I really wish that we gotten that. Like 11 years ago, 12 years ago. I really wish we would have gotten it. Damn you, Vince McMahon. You had the image right there, and you didn't run with it because of, and I know John said in the interview with Chris Van Vliet.
That album right there, that thing is fire. That album is fire. I don't care. I still listen to it. By the way, I have it downloaded because that album is still fire. I don't care. As old as it is, I don't care. I still listen to it. Yeah, You Can't See Me either because that shit's fire.
It's the joint, baby. Gotta make it loud so I can hear some noise from the crowd. Like every song on that album.
Exactly. I mean, there's you go back to that album. I mean, Bumpy Knuckles. I mean, God bless that man. God bless that man. He produced a great album for John. I mean, and him and John just went at it. And even you can look at interviews that Bumpy has talked about him, and he's talked about there was not a lot that he needed to do. In retrospect of talking about the album, he said John was one of those. He knew who I was. Now if you don't know Bumpy Knuckles, I mean, and if you're not that deep into the hip hop game, you have no idea who he is. You know, you're mainstream, that's a completely different story. But when you go deep into the underground, Bumpy Knuckles is a legend. I mean, hands down one of the best producers in the 90s, in the early 90s, and into the mid 90s. And I could see why John chose him in as one of those people that he wanted to work with. And but Bumpy has said that he walked into the studio, he was telling him, well, this and this, and John was like a sponge, wanting to absorb everything that Bumpy had wanted to. Freddie Fox, that had wanted to go out there and produce for him, and he went out there and put this shit together, and that's still a banging album. I don't care.
No, I'll insert the photo here where I have a signed autograph from John Cena when I met him at the Westbury Best Buy. It'll be here. And this
Insert here.
Insert here. But no, like Bumpy Knuckles, like I remember from SmackDown vs. Raw 6, my feet, stomp my heat, some you don't want war. Like I remember like all the Bumpy Knuckles tracks that he did for SmackDown vs. Raw 6.
Yeah. And oh my God, that one is laced with him. I mean, that's his fingerprints right there.
Yeah, John Cena, Bumpy Knuckles, and trademark, baby. Don't fuck with John Cena. I'm a bad man. Oh.
I'm a bad man.
Like trademark too, got to give him credit because he gave us.
Oh yeah, trademark. Oh my God, dude, that's another legend in the hip hop game. I mean, and those are MCs who don't get enough credit, and in the industry because their background.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but lacing tracks, putting tracks together, putting stuff together for Mobb Deep, for Jay-Z, for the list goes on and on and on for people that they've worked with. A Tribe Called Quest. I mean, it's fingerprints everywhere on the hip hop game, and that's just being real.
And I will say this for the wrestling fans that don't know, Trademark is the one who sang Kurt Angle's legendary theme in TNA. I'm focused, lit up, never give up. Like that was all Trademark right there.
That was all Trademark.
Whew.
And I give him credit. I give Kurt credit for going back and getting him to do that track for him.
Agreed, man. And it's a fire track, and that is synonymous with Kurt Angle's legendary career in TNA wrestling. And, well, we are at the point now where before we get into Sting, because we mentioned legendary, NXT, we had a legendary figure come back, and his name is William Regal. Charlie Dempsey was out there with the Heritage Cup, and he was out there with the No Quarter Stretch crew, and William Regal, Fee Fi Fo Fum. The crowd was chanting, "That's your daddy," at Charlie Dempsey. And I love the segment.
I loved it. I love that they actually got that moment. Mm-hmm. I don't care that Dempsey wanted to be a heel in that aspect, but I think for William, I think for him it was one of those life-changing moments that remember, he had that heart issue, he had a heart attack, and that he literally almost died. He became very, very ill. So, having that moment for him, I know was special. So kudos to William and, and his son, for going out there and having that little moment, having that little exchange, and Fee Fi Fo Fum.
Another exchange I have to bring up because it was I was so happy to see William Regal, but another exchange, these guys are nuts. That Asylum match with Dijak and Joe Gacy, and Dijak.
Oh my God.
That moonsault off the top of the cage from Dijak. Jesus.
Hold on. Is this thing on?
Yes.
Dijak, dude, my dude. Killed it.
Those two have great chemistry. The duct tape spot going through the door, like the kendo sticks. These two, if you've not seen the match, these two went buck wild, and it was really, really good.
Kicked ass with each other. I mean, they beat the shit out of each other. The only thing that I miss Keith Lee in NXT because him and Dominic Dijakovic, man, they had some bangers. Those two big men, talk about big meaty men. Mm-hmm. Those two, go back NXT, watch it because those two were bangers, and this is what it brought back to me. Watching Joe and watching Dijak just go at it in that man, That they killed it. That moonsault. I'm surprised he's alive, but hey, he's here. Kudos to both of them. Oh, HOF. That's what I wanted to throw at you.
Yes. Okay. So very quickly here, Paul Heyman, Bull Nakano, and the U.S. Express. I am for each and every one of those people going into the Hall of Fame.
Oh my God, Paul Heyman, the wise man, the man that used to carry the brick cell phone in both the AWA, the NWA, WCW, on in, creator of ECW, took Eastern Championship Wrestling, became Extreme Championship Wrestling. I mean, the list of people that man has managed, that man has created, helped nurture and raise in ECW, Raven, Shane Douglas, Tommy Dreamer, the Dudleys, Taz. I mean, the list is extensive of all the people that have gone through ECW. Stone Cold Steve Austin was only there 4 or 5 months, I believe. And he left WCW, was in limbo after he got fired by Eric Bischoff. Paul called him, said, come to ECW. He did the promo. The promo of Hulk Hogan. Oh yes, brother.
Evamania's
running. What you gonna do? And oh my God, he went on and on. I mean, I beg, put that link down below because that shit was fucking fire.
And then he's like, I'm not gonna do this shit anymore, son.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where literally the Stone Cold persona began, was in ECW. I hope. I mean, and I say this before because I actually, if you put up the clip of Bully Ray, I was gonna say Bubba Ray, but same person, Bully Ray, he actually said, who they thought, him and Dave LaGreca were trying to figure out who should induct him.
All right.
Who should be the one to induct him? Now they went along the line. They said, if they're going to do generations and they're going to do each segment of his life, really you can start from the beginning, and you could start with Taker. These are the three that I think should be the ones to do it. It should be Taker, it should be Austin, and I think it should be CM Punk.
Yes.
If not Austin, I think Bully Ray, because ECW original, or it's Tommy Dreamer. If he's not inducted too, which I think, I personally think Tommy Dreamer should be in there because he is an ECW original. If he's not inducted this year, then I believe Tommy should be there. But if you're asking me, I get Paul is the creator of ECW, but he also had a career before, and he's had a career since. So if we're going to talk the ECW brand, Tommy should be in the Hall of Fame. And I say that now. Tommy should be in the Hall of Fame along Bully and next to Bubba Ray and Devon. And I know that there should be other ones. I know that Raven should be there. I also know Shane Douglas should be there because Shane Douglas was one of those big ass originals from ECW. He was actually the layover from Eastern Championship Wrestling and came, and went into ECW as their champion. So, I mean, to me, that's somebody that I think should. Tommy Dreamer, at least of anybody, should be in the Hall of Fame. And I hope he gets his nod this year. I hope Paul calls him this year.
My thoughts on the Paul Heyman introduction, besides the fact that well-deserved and we can be here all day like you mentioned there, I like that you brought up the WCW vibe of a Taker in Austin, but I've been so enthralled with maybe CM Punk. I would have said originally Brock Lesnar, but after everything that happened, hell no. You could have Roman Reigns if you want to tie into, the wise man, so to speak. But for me, if you're ECW branded, I would go if Tommy Dreamer, who should be in, like you mentioned, I would say either Tommy Dreamer or the Dudleys, or both Bubba and Devon inducting him because one of the greatest teams.
Yeah.
But
And we're talking, and I think Bully actually touched on it, and he said that Taker has probably known him the longest, as far as like somebody who's, and mind you, he managed him in AEW, AWA, and then back in the early days, so he's known him the longest. That's really the only person, and I think Dave LaGreca had actually pointed it out too, that's somebody who has known him throughout from the beginning of his career all the way up until now. So that, like I said, Taker could probably be the first one, Tommy Dreamer, and CM Punk would, and Brock Lesnar, obviously, because he wasn't going to speak. He wasn't really going to say much, even if he was out there, because Brock can't speak.
This is true. I will say this, man. Like you mentioned, I'm glad you brought up the Hall of Fame because Bull Nakano is another one everybody's been saying about doggone time.
Oh, you got to show that beautiful picture with Asuka and Bull, and then you got to show the one with Kyrie and Bull. Oh my God, Bull, girl, you are fucking gorgeous now. I mean, she is bad. I mean, please don't show that picture. I mean, you're probably going to.
Oh, we're going to insert.
I know you're going to start with the picture of her, as a wrestler, but man, show those pictures of her now, man. That woman is gorgeous.
And she's like 58 now too, and she looks
aged. She aged well, man. I'd be chasing her too. You know what I'm saying?
Bull Nakano, yes. I will say this: it was easy for me once the announcement came of who's going to duct her. Alundra Blaze. Alundra Blaze.
Alundra Blaze.
Like, she's such an influx. And I mean, if you guys have not checked out Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakano from WrestleMania 10 and the matches they had in Japan, like, Bull Nakano was next level. She was something else.
Yeah, and she was only in WWF for 1 year, I believe. Just a little more, about a year that she was there. But I mean, go to her Japan stuff. Go to her All Japan pro wrestling. Those matches that she had over there, even with, I believe it was Destiny.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Destiny. So, but she had some amazing, phenomenal matches with so many amazing. Aja Kong, is another one that she had with. Toyota was another one that she had an awesome match with. When she was just starting out. I could probably go on a list of like so many women and of that she's battled, but man, that's another one. And we're gonna go on to the next one, which is the US Express. I'm glad, but at the same time, somebody pointed this out to me. I would also like to see the Midnight Express actually get their nod. Robert Condrey, oh, God damn it.
No, Robert Gibson and Dennis.
Robert Gibson. Oh my God. No, that's the Rock and Roll Express.
Oh, Robert Gibson.
The Midnight Express is Robert Condrey and
Dennis. What's it? No.
No, it was Dennis Condrey.
Yes.
And Bobby Eaton. Bobby Eaton. That was the other one. Man, and Paul Heyman. Speaking of, Paul Heyman it was Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette was their manager. Oh my God. Again, another tag team that should be in the Hall of Fame, because you got to give those men, that tag team, they're not. And FTR has already stated for a fact that was one Robert Condrey, and he brought him into the ring one year. Believe last year or the year before, they brought him into the ring, saying that if it wasn't for the Midnight Express, that there would be no FTR, which I believe that is true, especially with the Brainbusters and that when they talked about them too, and about all the amazing tag teams from the 80s and the 90s that have influenced them. So that's another tag team. But the US Express, Bray Wyatt, rest in peace. Mike Rotunda is getting into the Hall of Fame. Barry Windham, man, that was long overdue of getting into the Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame, because that man did so much in WCW. That man is one that just should have gotten that nod years ago. But
I mean, he is in the Hall of Fame as a part of the Horsemen, but it's nice to see him.
But yeah, but he needs an individual one
I
because
agree.
dude kicked ass as the US champion, as the NWA champion, you know, and that was before the WCW merger. So, you know, he went over there, reinvented himself, you know, became a solo act, you know, and then before he got into the Horsemen, but that dude, I'm so happy for him and Mike as a tag team, because you're talking about two lifelong friends, and we're talking about Wyndham Rotunda, who is named after Barry.
Mhm.
Oh my God, don't mind me, I'm getting emotional. God bless that man. I miss him so fucking much, but I mean, I'm just happy that phone call that Triple H did for them. I mean, you could see the emotion on both of their faces and hear it in their voices, man. God bless. I can't wait for WrestleMania weekend. I really can't.
I gotta say, it's very obvious. Another one for me, the person to induct them both in there, Bo Dallas.
Yes, and people have been pushing for it, and I think Bray should go in too.
Yeah,
because if it's something that needs to happen, and you need to have him there, and if they come out to do their you know how they do it, they bring out the WrestleMania people, the Hall of Famers, and I would love to see Bo, Mike, Barry, the entire family there holding a picture of him. That's what I want.
same. Whew. God, I mean, we're gonna get even more emotional, but I have to say this with NXT really quickly.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
we saw the continuation of Roxanne Perez going towards the heel route against Lyra Valkyria. We now have love it. We have Ilya Dragunov.
We got heel Roxanne. We got heel crazy Roxanne. Yes.
I'm here for it.
I wanted it. I wanted that crazy girl to come out.
We have Ilya Dragunov now against Tony D, and the return of Trick Williams whooping that trick.
Whoop that trick. Yeah, that's it. That's it right there.
With Carmelo.
Oh, man.
Now,
Roadblock this week was awesome. I have to admit, that was one of those kick-ass NXT shows, and if you get a chance, go back, watch it, because that shit was fire.
Well, does that make you even more excited now for Stand and Deliver, where we have
Carmelo? Yes, it does, because I want to see, if I'm going to get it, I want to get Trick and Ilya NXT title. I need him to have it. I need Whoop That Trick to be playing throughout Wells Fargo. I need it. Give me what I want. Yeah. Oh, wait. You got to put up the GIF.
I will.
We got to put up that Batista GIF. Give me what I want.
We got Carmelo and Trick for Stand and Deliver. We got Ilya and Tony D. I'm actually really intrigued with Tony D and Ilya. I think that's actually going to be a sleeper.
Yeah, that's going to be a really, really good match. I'm hoping that they all go out there and kick ass, because that's what I'm presuming that they're going to do. Sean's going to be out there just like a father proud of all his kids. He's just going to and give me Roxanne. Now, mind you, It wasn't even supposed to be Roxanne in this whole situation. That was supposed to be Cora Jade's spot, but shit happens. I mean, injuries happen, and I'm glad she's on the road to recovery and doing her damn thing. But I love this whole plot twist, this whole twist of Roxanne Perez just going crazy girl. I love it. I love it.
I think it was also time, Paul. Like, I think the babyface run was getting a little stale. They needed to switch it.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of AJ.
Yes,
give me AJ Lee. That AJ Lee twist to it, where she kind of got a little crazy and started going a little. You could kind of see the transformation in her, where she started turning and started going that route to where she was turning heel. Man, that Roxanne turn, perfect timing. Give me that match at Stand and Deliver. Give me what I want.
and we have had a lot of what we wanted in today's forum. And like, it's an exciting time for wrestling, folks. We are on the road to WrestleMania. You can see the excitement in both Paul and our voices. We can't even stand it. We love it, and we want it. Give us what we want. And Paul, we got what we wanted at AEW Revolution. Great show, and we're going to end it with the icon Sting. The career of Sting has come to an end. There was one minor debate we'll touch upon before we get into the match. Of course, Darby going through the glass, Sting going through the glass. A lot of people felt it was unnecessary. Some people loved it for that going out balls to the wall moment. We'll touch upon that because that was the only thing people really critiqued. What were your thoughts on the glass spot in this particular match?
I thought it was perfect. I thought it was, he needed this. You give that man whatever the fuck he wants. You give the icon whatever the fuck he wants. You give this man a luxury car. You give him a Bentley. You give him a mansion in wherever the hell he wants to retire at, and you give this man what he wants. He's earned it. So if he wanted to go out there, throw thumbtacks onto the ground and run through glass, go through a couple of tables, get hit with a couple of chairs, let the man do it. But this match was serendipitous, dare I say, because this man went out there on his own terms, didn't go out on the terms that he wanted because he didn't want to retire as a champion. And he said that. He quoted that in an interview not too long after. And he said that he didn't want to, that was kind of the fight that he had with Tony. And not necessarily a fight. That was kind of like the argument between him and Tony, was that he didn't want to end as a champion. But Tony was like, I want you to end undefeated. I want you to end your career, your AEW career, as a champion, because in life, you're a champion. To a lot of the people in that locker room, to a lot of the fans around the world, Sting, you are a champion. So in our eyes, it was more serendipitous that he ended up finishing his career as a champion. Now, granted, Darby came out Wednesday and said, yeah, I'm vacating him, because that's what he needed to do. And what the fuck is up with Darby going to fucking Mount Everest?
That's my thing too. Like, he was nuts. And the way that he gave that interview was very eerie. And I'm like, if this is my last match, I'm like, dude, don't put that into the universe, because I want to see him safe and sound. I know it's Mount Everest. You're nuts. You're crazy, but please be safe, and let's get you through it. I'm interested to see his updates of everything that's going on.
Oh my God, that's going to be crazy. And I think the reason why he's doing it is because he may have felt or may feel like he's accomplished so much in his life. And now mind you, he hasn't been like a major champion aside from being the tag. I'm not saying that the tag team championships are not a major championship, but I'm saying he's not held an individual title as far as like high as like being the world champion in AEW.
TNT champion, but not.
Yeah, but I mean TNT champion. Yes, he was TNT champion. Yes, he was tag team champion. Yes, I think he still has a lot more in him, and I think he can do a lot more in the company. But this is going to be one of those moments to where I see him, and I really, really hope and pray this man comes back from climbing that. I hope he gets about halfway up and says, "Nah, I'm good. I see you all the way up there. I'm passing up corpses that are probably all rotted or whatever," and he's like, "Nah, I'm good."
What I love about it too is it's the daredevil mentality, much like we saw with the glass in the match. Like, I'm going to point this out. One of my favorite moments of the match was, "We're not sorry. We hate you." And they go back to Sting. Like, everything was just, it worked up so wonderful and beautifully. And the one other thing that I have to mention, because holy hell, the presentation of him watching his career in the movie theater, and then out come his sons. One is Surfer Sting, one is Wolfpack Sting. Beautiful.
Yeah, that was one of those moments to where you see, I really, really thought when I first saw WCW Sting, I swear to you, I thought it was him. I thought, man, dude cut his hair.
Yeah, that
I
was
said,
his
are
son,
you kidding
Garrett.
me? I go, he cut his hair.
That was his son, and I'm like,
And
dude,
that was his son. And then I saw the other one and I said, oh, okay, that one seems a little bit more Wolfpack.
yeah,
Oh,
no.
you know, and I was waiting, and then I saw him, and I saw I saw his screen pop up, and I saw the Titantron,
Titantron.
we'll call it a Titantron video board. We'll go that one. We won't call it Titan because that's WWE. So
Yeah.
anyways, no, we saw his name come up. We saw him with the spotlight on him, and that was just amazing. I honestly had no idea that those were his sons. I just thought that those were other wrestlers. I really truly did, and I didn't find out until about I'm scrolling through Twitter about the same time that I'm watching it, and I'm all like, "Oh, those are his sons." Okay, I got it.
And
Unagi.
the fact that they got in the ring with their dad and then sticker splashes. Yeah, that's a moment.
Oh yeah, that was awesome too. And they were talking about, okay, so we'll go with Sting. We'll just get back to that part.
Yeah.
So speaking of Sting, did you know that WWE was never contacted for anything from AEW?
Wow.
They never contacted them, and there was actually a quote on Twitter where somebody from WWE said that they never got contacted, and I believe it was another reporter that actually reported it, and I don't think it was Sean Ross Sapp, but I think it was somebody else who reported it that that AEW never reached out to WWE for any content that they can use for Sting's last match. And I kudos to WWE, kudos to Paul Levesque, kudos to Michael Cole mentioning it on Raw.
Yes.
That it last night was Sting's last match. Congratulations, congratulating him, everything on a phenomenal career. Pat McAfee's saying it was an amazing match, knowing that Pat watched it. So
Pat watched the AEW pay-per-view.
Yeah, and Pat watched the AEW pay-per-view. So I mean, kudos to everybody. And I'm sure, I'm pretty sure Paul watched it. I'm pretty sure everybody in WWE watched it because it's Sting. I mean, it's Sting.
It's Sting.
It's Sting. Anyways, that was what I wanted to talk. That's what I wanted to mention too.
Oh man, you're cool.
that they had it, that they never got reached out for it. They would have helped a whole lot, with his early career, knowing that WWE owns and a lot of the NWA content, WCW content, a lot of the, and I'm surprised they didn't reach out to TNA, because TNA is another one. I mean, even though they're under Anthem, I mean, they still could have reached out and gotten some content from them.
Some Main Event Mafia stuff.
And even just pictures. I mean, and a lot of the pictures that they were showing were from Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So
Illustrated,
yeah. So that was good, and I like the collage that they did. That they were doing flashes of like he's watching the movie. And he's watching the moments. I think it would have been a hell of a lot better had AEW actually had Tony actually gotten off his ass and actually asked for Sting on Sting's behalf. Because it's Sting. I mean, why are you going to deny him? This isn't the same WWE. This isn't Vince's WWE. And I mean, but that's just me. But hey, okay. So back to what we were talking about. Yes, it was a phenomenal match. Yes, it was a great match. Yes. Sting went out on his terms. I mean, sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
But hey, he's a champion of champions. I mean, and granted, he doesn't have 16, 21, 23 that AEW says that Ric Flair has, or he's a 24-time, 23-time world champion, or however many times that they say he's a world champion.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, God bless Sting. Congratulations on a phenomenal almost 40-year career. Good Lord. I feel old.
Yeah. And I mean,
I'm going to leave. I'm going to go.
Like the thank you Sting. And I mean, I will say this. it was great to see people like Magnum TA. I know Lex Luger wasn't on camera, but Lex Luger was there. Magnum TA, Scotty Ray,
And that was another thing WWE didn't allow, that they didn't allow a lot of,
like Kevin Nash. Yeah.
like Kevin Nash. He even said that WWE wasn't going to let him go, and it's like, why?
I
Why
think
not? I mean, granted, you're still under contract. But if they show you on TV, guess who has to pay you?
Yeah, and I think it was just a thing. Like he's also loyal to Triple H, so he's like, all right,
Yeah.
well, you're not gonna go.
Yeah, and I get that. I completely get it.
But I think it was great to have everybody there. And I mean, speaking of everybody there, like Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Ricky took the double super kick, like he took a bump, but Flair taking the EVP trigger, like really, like I don't want to see.
It didn't even happen. I would have liked to see Ricky Steamboat take it, but over Flair. But
and I mean, like here's the thing, because Steamboat
hell, I would have liked to seen his kids take it more than anybody else. I mean, don't grant it. They could have easily just given it to them, and a punch or a clothesline or something to super kick Flair. That would have been perfectly fine. Super kick freaking Ricky Steamboat, but V trigger, EVP trigger the Sons. That would have been perfect.
That's the thing, though, and I mean, minus that, like I enjoyed the show, I enjoyed the card, and I mean, what a great send off for the Icon Sting, which is he is, and. Yeah, I mean, everything that goes into it, man, like it was such a good week in wrestling. Like I knew when we were going to do this, like I was smiling from ear to ear because there's so much good stuff. And I mean, like The Rock tonight, like calling Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns calling Seth Rollins a cross-dresser, and they set up the Cody and Seth, Roman and Rock bout. I died at just everything that they said to each other. It was so good. It was so
I was mad. I was mad that the set they didn't even finish the segment. It cut off. It was so speaking of Sting, now we'll go back to Sting for a second.
Okay.
That's where it cut off at the 9 o'clock hour. It cut off just as Sting started talking into the mic. That was the worst part. The fact that they let the match run over. And that they didn't even let Sting. Now, mind you, it's on the AEW Twitter page, or it's on their Facebook page, or Facebook on their YouTube page. So watch it. I hope that WWE at least shows the end of this segment, man, because that was comedy. And the slap heard around the world, part 2.
Yeah, and I mean, I also like the fact that Seth called The Rock midlife crisis.
Mr. Midlife Crisis.
Midlife crisis. It's going to be so good. Like SmackDown, everything has been hitting on all cylinders. There's nice synergy in wrestling. Like, folks, it's a good time. Like, you can tell our smiles. We want to see the business thrive, and we want to see good business done in the correct way. And that's what we're getting. And I mean, what you're going to get even more next week from us is more weekly review, more great content, and more great analysis of professional wrestling by myself and Mr. Paul Morales. So, Paul, before we close this out, where can we follow you on the social media fronts? Go ahead, sir.
You could follow me on the RWT Facebook page, which is probably going to be in the link down below. And then also you could follow me on Twitter, X, the Den Men of RWT. That's where I'm at. Not on Pornhub. That's him. Anyways, yeah, that's him. Anyways, Mr. Michael Larkin. You boy.
All right, man. SM Show 1, MCL92 on the Twitter front, MLarkinMB, Larkin_92 on the Instagram front, SteveandMikeShow.com are all the Steve and Mike Show needs, LFCfights.com for all your LFC needs, Mike Larkin92. Subscribe to the YouTube channel where you get the weekly review with myself and Paul Morales, the Steve and Mike Show with Steve Nicoforo and I, Deep into the Heart of Wrestling with myself, Robert Davis, and Nicola McDonald, the Demon S, Uncaged with myself and Daniel Crimmins, the Pop Culture History Podcast, On the Mic with Mike. So much stuff really encompassed and encaptured with the Mike Larkin YouTube channel. Subscribe. We are up to 777 subscribers. Let's keep it going up, man. Let's stay on this journey. Just up we go. And just putting out more content for people to enjoy. And we appreciate those who enjoy and listen and do what they will with what our shows, and just enjoy it, man. Enjoy the stuff that we bring. Myself and Paul love what we do. And it's just a blast, talking with your friends, man. So Paul Morales, Mike Larkin, weekly review. We'll see you next week. Have a great night.
One last thing. Happy International Women's Day. Happy International Women's to all the podcasters that are out there. Denise, Queen of the Ring, Miss Alex, Kate Kayfabe. Oh my God, love that woman so much. Oh my God. all the women on RWT, Nicola, our girl,
Moni Lynn.
Moni Lynn, my late friend, oh my God, Jessica Espinoza. God, I love you and I miss you, girl, every fucking day, girl. And I miss our fucking banter. That, God bless her. Lane, I love you. My boy, I fucking love you. Anyways, to every woman out there, happy International Women's Day. God bless all of you.
God bless you all. Beauty, strength, and dominance. Shout out to all the ladies, the moms, sisters, and every female that has an amazing role in this thing that we call life. Much like Paul Morales said, God bless you guys, and we'll see you next week for another edition of the Weekly Review.
Oh, Moses.
Fuck you, Moses.